of PA football as PA Football News presents its weekly look at high school football across the state.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella sure that I don't become you. I have no regrets, yeah, I'll tie up my chest. I'll never forget what it's like to be in.
Did you know there are 555 total high school football programs in the state? Did you also know there are a total of 58 college programs ranging from D1 to D3 in the state of Pennsylvania? Whether you're a bulldog, a lion, a crusader, an eagle, or a millionaire, we got you covered.
You already know. Turn that to gains, let my money show. I've got these things that I can't let go. Watch me turn this life into something that you can never own. So fight and die.
Here at PA Football News, we got you covered. And now, your host, Billy Splain.
Hey everybody, welcome. We are PA Football News. We're live at Knoebels Resort with we're at the Nickle Plate Bar and Grill. This is the state of PA football. This is Dave Fegley sitting next to me. I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit on our speaker out here. But we're getting ready to do our show here tonight. We got a big show, Dave. Big, huge show tonight. Boy, I tell you what, we got Mount Carmel coming in tonight. We have Southern Columbia coming in tonight. We have Selinsgrove. And why is that important, Dave? Because Mount Carmel and Southern Columbia play this week. Wait a minute. Turn your microphone on, Dave. There you go.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, week 8 of the high school football slate, and it's been titled The Game. Those of you around the Cole region know about Southern success over the years. Mount Carmel has the Coal Bucket game later on, but you look at the history of these two programs between Southern and Mount Carmel, separated by just 10 miles down Route 54, and it's intriguing every week.
Well, Southern, one of the winningest programs in the last 20 years. Mount Carmel, one of the winningest programs in the last 100 years. That's just it's amazing. Everybody asks me, they're like, why? When we travel around the state, and they'll say, what does Southern do? Why and there's all the accusations, the recruiting, and they do this, they do that, everything like that. I'm like, okay, so if Southern is recruiting, then why is Mount Carmel so good, which is right over the hill? Then why is Shamokin usually has a good program? They're a little down. Why is Selinsgrove always good every year? It's because there's talent and the kids buy into the programs, and that's just the way it is. We're going to ask Jim Roth the tough questions tonight. I'm going to ask him the tough ones tonight, and we're not going to be kind to him at first, but we're going to talk to him nicely, and I'm excited to have those guys on the show. But right now, I want to do a quick rundown. I want to thank all of our sponsors who make this possible. So right now, I want to thank the folks that keep me online. Center Wisp up in Penns Valley area. Center Wisp, they're a local internet company, and they do us tremendously well. We get free internet from them. If you're up in that area and you're looking for some internet, you definitely got to hook up with Center Wisp. I also want to thank Circle W Sports. We all know who Circle W Sports is. That's Ed Weaver. Ed Weaver keeps our website running. He builds websites. He builds all kinds of apps and things like that. He's got a combine tracker that he uses for colleges and for different combines and stuff like that. It's live. Ed does all the back-end stuff on our website. He makes it look good. He makes it run. He makes it spin. So if you're looking for a website for your school, I know there's a few schools hooked on already. You need to contact Ed, and he'll give you a quality site at a quality price. He won't charge you an arm and a leg. I want to thank one of our best sponsors. Every year they're on board, Coach Com. If you want to communicate on the sidelines, you want to be a great communicator on the sidelines with your staff, you definitely need to get a hold of Coach Com. I also want to thank one of our biggest sponsors on the website. We can't do anything without them. They're right here on this big banner all over the place, the Funding Zone. If you're looking to raise money, whether you have a lacrosse team, a soccer team, baseball team, a basketball team, a softball team, any team, or if you have a church group or anything like that, you can contact the Funding Zone, and they will hook you up with the Funding Zone. They do a great job with their. They sell those little cards with all the advertisements on it. Yeah, and they do all that stuff. So Mike Sikorsky, Mike DeFran, all those guys. There's like 87 mics at the Funding Zone. So you'll get a hold of a mic if you contact them. By the way, all these ads, all these advertisers you're seeing, you can find their information right on the front page of our website. Just click on their banner. I also want to thank Go Route for being on our. Go Route is an amazing thing, Dave. We used it in the Big 33. Go Route is a system. It looks just like this, just like that. And you can't beat it. The coach on the sideline, he's got the plays. He hits a button on the thing. It goes to the player. The player looks at it and and they just run the play. It's amazing. It's used for practice. It's mainly used for your scout team, and you can triple your reps with Go Route. It's just an amazing system. Also want to thank Rainbow Lettering. Dave's wearing a nice hat. See that hat Dave has right there? See this shirt I'm wearing right here? I got a pair of pants. I'm not going to stand up. But Rainbow Lettering, they do stores for teams. And their thing is quick turnaround. So you can get a store, open it, 2 weeks later, boom, your stuff's coming. Just like that. And they do a great job at Rainbow Lettering. And their stuff is quality. I mean, I like the pants I'm wearing are really nice. And this shirt, I like this shirt. It's a nice shirt. I look professional. I look like a coach. No, I don't. I'm not a coach.
Hey, everybody can think they're a coach.
That's
at one
right.
point. It's just who can be successful.
These guys here, I'm going to have on our show soon. Safer Sports. That's a conversation we need to start having. We need to start protecting heads, okay? And they make a helmet cover that goes on your helmet. And I'm going to pull a picture up later on. I forgot to load it up here. But Virginia Tech wears them in their games. Your helmet, you cannot tell they're wearing it. The helmet, the helmet cover comes out the same color as what they want their helmet, and it's just amazing. And if we can save one life by wearing these cushions on your helmet,
I don't know why it's not.
Well, it's new technology.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech, Penn State, a few others did some testing on it. Pitt is using it, so Pitt's going to be using it. So it's an amazing thing. So Safer Sports, you got to get on board with Safer Sports. If you're looking for gear for your team, your uniforms for all your teams in school or church league or whatever, church league softball, let's bring that back.
High Arc I used to play on Sundays after church.
Yeah, let's bring church league softball back so I can watch because I'm too old. I can't play. I wouldn't be able to do it. But, so Sports Paradise, Kevin James up there does a great job with the uniforms and things like that. He also gets deals on things like Gatorade and other things. And here's another product I really like. That's one of our sponsors, Turf Tank. If you have grass fields and you spend hundreds of hours putting lines on those fields, I know you do. It takes a while. I've done it. Turf Tank, they give you a little machine that goes out and it lines it. According to GPS, all you got to do is push a button once you're used to it. Just push a button and it does your lining for you, and you cannot beat that. I want to thank Two Birch Winery. They were a sponsor for Pro Times articles this summer. Two Birch Winery up in Du Bois, great wine, I guess.
I'm not a wine drinker.
I'm not a wine drinker either, but Phil tells me the wine is good, so the wine is good there. So if you're up in Du Bois and looking for some wine, go to Two Birch. And finally, well, not finally, I want to thank another sponsor of ours. Where's it at? There it is. Victory Sport and Fitness. Rob Oshinsky does a great job. He will travel to you. He will come to you. He'll help you with speed. He'll help you with nutrition. That's one of the big things a lot of teams don't know about nutrition, and I know your team does because I know who handles that stuff. But Victory Sports Fitness. And then if you look down, Dave Fegley, if you look down at the bottom right there, see that little thing right there? That's St. Luke's.
I do see that.
St. Luke's is one of our sponsors this year. They're coming on board. They're one of our main sponsors, so I got to thank St. Luke's for being on board, and St. Luke's Health Network. They have many, many different groups working with many different teams, mostly down in District 11. They're crawling up into District 4, District 2 area. They're down in District 1 a little bit. So if you're looking for somebody to take care of your athletes, those are the people that you want to take care of there. So those are our sponsors, Dave. Hey, I'm done talking. That's a lot of talking. So, but I guess we got to keep talking. Yeah, that's it. Water. They gave me water.
Stay hydrated.
So, Dave, where were you at last week with Southern?
I was at Tiger Stadium, probably Southern's best rushing output, I would say without question, rushing
It was,
for
yeah.
over 500 yards. Eric Garcia, who we'll see later today, 269 yards rushing, scored on a couple of different occasions. And funny thing, in a group text message with his brothers after the game, they both confirmed that neither one of them had topped that mark. So the third Garcia brother now has the bragging rights over his two older brothers that
Who broke all kind of records.
are Pennsylvania's number 1 and 2 all-time scoring leaders in terms of touchdowns in the history of Pennsylvania, and the top 2 running backs in terms of rushing yards in school history. So that's no small feat. But I know Jim Roth, and we'll be talking to him later, wasn't too pleased with the offensive line's output 2 weeks ago at Montoursville, and that's not taking anything away from Montoursville. The Warriors they're about 500 this year, but they played Southern tough. It was 7-0 at the half, and Southern scored late, and they only finished with 21 points. Now Southern's defense has been stout all season long, but as we say, you see it a lot throughout where you live. It's throughout the state. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania has these rivalries, and you can throw the records out the window because it doesn't matter if another
That's right.
local one, Bloomsburg and Central Columbia, they'll be playing Week 10. One of them could come in 9-0. The other one can come in 2-7.
And it
you
won't
don't know
matter.
what to expect.
Hey, and we're going to take a look at some scores later on tonight, and or later on in the segment. And I'll tell you what, it doesn't matter what your record is. It doesn't, because any given week you can win. I was at a pretty good game on Friday night in a constant downpour, though. So I mean, it just rained nonstop. I think our buddy Jaden is here too out there. Jaden was in the rain too. He was out of South Williamsport. That was a good game though. But I got to see Clearfield and Bald Eagle area. Clearfield exposed Bald Eagle area. They learned a lot. I think Jesse Nagel learned a lot about his team that night. They learned that they have to be able to run the ball. They can't just throw 300-400 yards every game behind Carson Nagel. They shut him down. But I'll tell you what, it came down to the last minute, and Bald Eagle was driving. They got a pass interference call that put him on the 20-yard line, and with like 40 or 30 seconds left in the game, Carson Nagel dropped back to pass, rolled to the right, and he just got sandwiched, lost the ball. Clearfield recovered the ball, and they get the win, on that recovery. But what a great game that was. And there were some great games all over the state of Pennsylvania, and excited to talk about them real quick. Garnet Valley, every year they're a power. We talk about our Americans. By the way, Dave's on our rankings crew, and we're excited to have Dave here. Strathaven beats Garnet Valley 28-19. That's a big game down in District 1. Another big one down there was Downingtown West over Coatesville, 21-14. That was a tight game. Downingtown West, one of our top teams in the rankings this year. Coatesville was also one of our top-ranked teams. Marple Newtown, they're coming on strong, Dave. They're coming on strong. They have Strathaven this week.
That's going to be very interesting.
It's going to be a good game. I think so.
I didn't know, I'll be honest with you, I saw Strathaven in the previews. Marple Newtown is a team that, I don't want to disservice them, but I would say has really come on strong. They have that one loss, but it wasn't to a cupcake. It wasn't like they got upset. I think that could be, we mentioned before, you said last week your game came down to a turnover. I wouldn't be surprised if this came down to the wire like that.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. It's definitely going to be a good game. Another good game coming up is Downingtown West at Chester. Chester, of course, they've got that. I think he's a sophomore quarterback. Does a great job for them. And West is they're West. They're always a good team. Downingtown West, the Whippets. Up in Scranton, up in the District 2 area, Valley View over Scranton, 20-6. It's a tough year in District 2 this year. The records. I don't know if I could have one of the coaches here, I could ask him. I could say, like, is it a down year in District 2? Is it a competitive year in District 2? Or is it a up year and everybody's beating each other up?
Well, Valley View's a team that I've seen the last couple of seasons, and I know both coaching staffs. Now, Valley View has had a change in coaches over the last couple of years, but Southern Columbia has been scrimmaging Valley View for the last 4 or 5 years now, and it's been a very competitive scrimmage right off the bat. You know that that test is going to prove a lot in terms of, okay, you're facing Southern, in the case of Southern, a smaller school playing a Valley View school that's not the size of Southern. They're probably twice the size, but it's a good test, especially for offensive lines early, because, as they say, defenses are usually ahead of the offense. And if you're doing that, throw the record out because it doesn't matter. Why not go out and scrimmage a team to make yourself better?
Yeah, I agree 100%. You know, and I just can't figure it out. Dave, I think your microphone's turned around, like this part. Let me see it. There you go.
Now I'm good?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, there we go. So another big game, a big game coming up in District 2, Del Val, 4-3. You know, they had that juggernaut to start the season, but they're coming on strong. So they play Valley View. That's a game that piques my interest.
Well, Valley View's home, and being the fact that they're undefeated, this is a huge test. You mentioned Delaware Valley's a team that preseason rankings, everybody had them ranked high. They lost to a team out of District 4.
We didn't.
Everybody except for the rankings that matter, because we've been pretty on point. I mean, you mentioned we meet every Sunday night over a Zoom call, and it's been awesome to go through, Billy. Every week I love seeing what we had them previously ranked. I have the preseason rankings, and we've been pretty on point.
I know.
There's upsets at every level.
And we didn't make the mistake of unranking Southern Columbia. We made that mistake last year. I see a couple guys out there. Yeah. So anyway, District 3, huge game. Crazy matchup on a Thursday last week. Mifflin County and Milton Hershey. Mifflin County 42, Milton Hershey 35. Mifflin County was down 20-0 at one point, and then they kept coming back, and then they scored at the end of the game to get that win. Mifflin County is a rebuilding team, and that's the kind of game you want to win. You want to get that come from behind last minute win. I think that's a program builder as far as games go.
Especially when it's one thing to win a game when you're up 20-0 and blow that lead, but showing your coaching staff when things aren't going the way you want, overcoming a 3-score deficit around halftime, I think it was.
Yep.
I don't care who you're playing. If you're down 3 scores and they're able to flip the switch, it's certainly a testament to the players not giving up, and also coaches know that the players are going to respond when they're facing adversity.
That's right, yeah. So great win for Mifflin County. Of course, their head coach, Shane Grodock, he's got some pedigree behind him. He was down at Central York with Yanchuk, so he knows how to coach football. Another big game, 5A Cocalico 34, 3A Wyomissing 14. We didn't punish Wyomissing in the rankings for losing to a top-ranked 5A team. Twin Valley, good football team, Twin Valley, 35-34 over Garden Spot. I'm going to get to see Garden Spot this week. They come up here to travel, and they're going to play at Central Mountain, so I'm going to head down and see the crossover game there. Big win for Twin Valley. Here's the upset of the week. Well, there's 3 upsets of the week. Anvil Cleona 35, Lancaster Catholic 21. Catholic was one of our ranked teams. We had to drop them out due to that loss. That's a big loss, and that's a big win. Anvil has been a team this year that's been good, and then okay, and then good, and then real good. So they're kind of a up and down team. Big games in District 3, Twin Valley and Ephrata. Of course, Ephrata has a monster running back down there. So 7-0 against a 6-1. Well, I guess we'll see if Twin Valley's for real. Manheim Central. Always a juggernaut. I still can't figure out that first loss. I just can't figure that one out. I don't know how that happened, but it did, and that's just how it goes.
Well, there's a team that we're going to be talking about later tonight where we couldn't figure out their second loss of the season.
I know. It's been a crazy year. How you doing, Jim? So Manheim Central, they play the Buckskins from Conestoga Valley, who are 6-1. A surprising, but not so surprising 6-1. And then the big one in District 3, Harrisburg is traveling up to Happy Valley. They've got State College. That's a big Mid-Penn Commonwealth game. anything can happen in that game. State College is looking really good now. They're playing good football. They're running the ball well. They're throwing the ball well. Sean Lee at Harrisburg had 2 interceptions last weekend, and he threw for, I think, like 300 yards or pretty close to it. So he's having a good year too. So that's a big one. District 4, I'll let you take District 4, man.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it was an upset in terms of the way we had it ranked, but both teams good coming in. Muncie and South Williamsport. South Williamsport shut out a Milton squad to start out the year that ended up beating the Mount Carmel Area Red Tornadoes. That could be as the Southern Mount Carmel game has been the last couple of years, that could be one of 2 meetings this year. That could be the District 4 semifinals. I'd still say Canton's the favorite in District 4 there, but Muncie was able to win on the road, 29-28. A couple of big tests this week. Obviously, the feature one is Southern Columbia at Mount Carmel area on Friday night inside the Silver Bowl. Another team that's going to be here joining us tonight, the Seals of Selinsgrove, come in 6-0-1, tied with Jersey Shore 6-0-1, and obviously by now the unfortunate event that took place, most people around the state know why that game ended in a tie. Jersey Shore at Montoursville. Now, 2 weeks ago we mentioned Southern Columbia struggled to get offense going. The defense played stout, but it wasn't until late in second quarter that Southern was able to put points on the board. So I'm interested to see how Jersey Shore is able to handle that game on the road. And the one that we were talking before the show started, toss-up, it's a rivalry game. Milton at Mifflinburg, that could go.
That's an interesting game. With Troy Dressler lining up at wide out now, he's really good. I got to see them play against Central Columbia. He's a good receiver. Their quarterback is doing very well now. They're running the ball. So that's an interesting game. Milton, of course. Milton, to me, is an overachiever because they graduated some really good football players. But Peyton Rarick is a dude. So, yeah, that's an interesting game. Back to the South Williamsport Muncie game. We talked about that one during our rankings meeting. We almost kept South Williamsport in there. As a matter of fact, did we? Did we keep them in there?
No, we didn't.
No, we did not. We almost kept them in there with the 2 losses, only because the 2 losses came by like a couple of points to Muncie and to Canton.
And Canton's a team that
highly ranked,
I would say, has to be the favorite right now, Billy. If you're looking at a team out of the East in Single A, to face off against the Steel High team, that could be a semifinal matchup in states. And obviously we know we were just talking about passing, the way some of these teams have passed. I know Alex Irby just broke the record last week for Steel High. Yeah, we didn't talk about that.
Yeah, so congratulations to Alex Irby from Steel High. He is now the career passing yardage leader in Pennsylvania, and it's still going to add up. Unfortunately for that record, Stone Saunders is right behind him.
Right.
So he's probably going to take it over.
He'll hold it for a year.
Yeah. Less than a year.
Right. And that is one thing that you look at. It's not like a lot of people say, oh, well, these people get all these yards because they play into the state playoffs. Well, you can take it that 2 different ways. A lot of the regular season games, they're only playing half a game. Yeah. So it kind of evens out, and then it makes it tougher because in the state playoffs, you're playing against teams that are pretty darn good.
That's right. So on to District 6, one of the top scores out there was, of course, I mentioned BEA. Purchase Line was crushed by United Valley, who is having a phenomenal year out there. Penn Cambria upset, honorable mention, Chestnut Ridge. In District 5, Windber plays Berlin. That's always a big game. And surprising 6-1 North Star plays 7-0 Northern Bedford. So that's a big game. Another huge game, Clearfield, who I saw this past week, 6-1. They play Richland at 7-1. So Richland has one of the fastest guys in state, running out of the slot, running out of the back. So they're tough. they're always tough.
Yeah, that's a team that you look at. I would say 3 of the last 5 years, if it wasn't for Southern Columbia, they would have been in the state championship and probably would have won 2, if not all 3 of those games.
I agree. I don't disagree at all. And then another one that has me interested is Upper Dauphin and Juniata playing 5-2 versus 4-3. Juniata came out. They had Sealands Grove. They had 3 strong teams to start the season, and now they're into the meat of their conference schedule. I think one more. I think if they win this weekend, they clinch their playoff spot. If they haven't already, I don't think Bellefont's going to go into playoffs. I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't think so. So I think they're in. And then District 7. This is where all the action happened this week. Montour beat Central Valley, who was ranked. Trinity, I can't figure this one out. 23-6 over TJ. I don't know what happened that game. We didn't have anybody there, so I have no idea. And then the biggest one of the week, Pine Richland, who has struggled all year, has found the gear, and Ethan Keller ran for 56 times for 300 yards, and Pine Richland gets a big upset over number 2 6A Central Catholic. I was at a loss for that. I know we all were during the rankings meeting. And then Gateway, who we didn't rank in the beginning of the year. They started off rough with 3 losses. Gateway seems to have found the gear. They beat Penn Trafford. Big games this week out there. McKeesport at Gateway. Penn Hills, who has 1 loss. Central Catholic. Can Central Catholic bounce back, or will they take a beat down to another 5A team?
Well, it had to be eye-opener for them and a reality check because Pine Richland's a historic program, but they were 500 coming into that game. In 5A, you have PCC, who's undefeated, riding high as a top overall team in the state. Obviously, St. Joe's Prep is the team to beat in 6A, but going into last week, I would have said Pittsburgh Central Catholic, which a couple years ago, that game in the Western Final went to double overtime, I believe. That's right. St. Joe's Prep was able to win and then went on to win the state championship.
Marvin
Harrison.
Harrison made a fantastic catch in the back of the end zone to send it to overtime. His dad retweeted my film, and it got looked at 300,000 times. I was like,
Kyle McCord.
That's the best tweet I ever had.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kyle McCord throwing to him, and obviously down in this area, another target from Southern Columbia, Julian Fleming.
Yep.
But we're focused here on PA football news,
That's
and
right.
that's focused on the high school level right now.
And we're at the Nickle Plate, the Knoebels Golf Resort here in Elysburg. Listen, if anybody's out there watching in this area, come on down. We're outside. It's a beautiful night.
Yeah.
We got some great food. The food here is really good. I got a nice sloppy burger. It was a buffalo burger. I like licking my fingers and everything like that. It was really good. So the Nickle Plate at Knoebels. And I just want to remind everyone, Knoebels Grove is the best amusement park on the East Coast, period. There is nothing better than Knoebels Grove.
Well, I know it's the I don't know if it's just United States. I think it's the world's largest free admission amusement park.
It is. Yep. Lived here, man. When I was a kid, we used to roller skate every weekend down here. It was awesome. District 8, Westinghouse over Butler. Maybe if we have a little time, we'll talk about something Butler did this week. District 9, not really anything great happening, but Otto Eldrin plays Bucktail this week. Bucktail's 5-2. Bucktail, man, the Bucks. Smallest school in the state. They just keep.
Yeah, and that's up in, we talked about Circle W Sports, up in the northern tier country.
Yep.
A school that I have been to one time, probably 5 years ago, for a girls basketball game when I was assistant coach with Southern's girls team. And when I say it's a small school, I mean it is a small school.
That's right. And they usually line up 15 to 17 guys, and they'll play anybody. And they're 5-2 this year, so that's awesome. They're in a great league, too. District 10, District 9, there is a big game in District 9. Port Allegheny 6-1 and Red Bank Valley 7-0. They're pounding people out there. Both teams are, so they're doing good. That's a big game. Hickory over Grove City those teams out there, Hickory, Grove City, Farrell, Sharpsville, they just beat the daylights out of each other.
Yep.
Farrell all over Sharpsville started off, their quarterback was slinging it everywhere, like 300, 400, 500 yards a game, and then plop, Farrell jumps on him, and that's over. So Farrell's a 2A team. There's a couple of guys out here probably keeping their eyes on.
Farrell has a heck of a test this week with Sharon in terms of, are they still the favorites? Yes, but I don't see it being one of these rollover games in terms of they're going to put the game in the mercy rule in the snap of a finger.
No.
Sharon's got a quality defense, and I think people around the state are really going to see what Farrell's made of after this Friday night.
I agree. District 11, normally a very noisy district, but today or this weekend kind of quiet. Freedom beat Bethlehem Catholic, who is resurging, but that's a 6A over a 4A. Big game, exciting game. Williams Valley 49, Monroy area 41. Carl McGroarty and Alec Achenbach, both great running backs, great football players, and that was a back and forth game. Through most of the game, it went that way. So exciting game there.
That's a game, Billy, that if you're an offensive coordinator, you go home on a Friday night happy, sit down, relax, have a beverage, watch TV, go to the weekend happy. Defensive coordinator probably didn't sleep too well on that night.
He's probably like up all night long, man. Like,
both sides.
What did I do wrong? Yeah. So big games: Northwestern, Lehigh 7-0, and Bangor 5-2. That's a good game right there. The Raptors playing good. Williams Valley in another big battle with Marion Catholic, the Colts. So that should be a good game. North Schuylkill, this is the one in District 11 that I'm looking at this week. North Schuylkill 6-1, Palmerton 7-0. Matt Machalik just throwing the ball all over the place, breaking records every week, doing everything for Palmerton, having a great year. And then we have North. I wrote this one down because when's the last time you saw Northampton 6-1 versus Pocono Mountain West, who's 5-2? That's a good record when you're in that conference, EPC North.
And Northampton's one of the best nicknames in
Concrete Kids, baby.
Pennsylvania, the Concrete Kids.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that, right?
I like them. I like the Mars Planets.
Yeah. Abraham Lincoln down in District 12, all over John Bartram. Newman Goretti squeaked by Bonner Prendy. Bonner's not as good as they were last year. St. Joe's Prep 42-6. Oh, that was a crusher. And then we had Newman Goretti this week facing off against Conwell, Egan, Bartram, and Gratz. And I wrote this one down because it's interesting. Roman Catholic hosts National Christian Academy. I saw those guys week 0. They played Imhotep, and Imhotep beat them like 1,000 points.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to see if they've recovered. I haven't looked them up or anything like that. But that's our breakdown of what was and what will be. Dave, we're going to take a commercial, and when we come back, we're going to have Coach Jim Roth and a couple of the Southern Columbia Tigers. So we'll be back in 5 minutes.
At PAFootballNews.com, we've got you covered. If you're looking for the best coverage of high school football in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, check out PAFootballNews.com. From schedules to rankings, game coverage to Friday night scoreboard, live streams, and more, PA Football News is the one-stop shop for everything high school football in Pennsylvania. Follow us on Twitter at PA Football News and visit us at PAFootballNews.com. We got you covered.
Circle W Sports is the complete all-in-one platform for high school sports, designed by former athletes, coaches, and athletic directors. Circle W Sports gives school and team personnel an easier solution to run their entire athletic departments with the help of these features. League Manager makes creating master schedules a breeze. Configure your divisions, build schedules, track league all-stars, and much, much more. Referee Manager helps assign and track game officials in the same platform. And with RefPay, your officials can get paid within in hours instead of days or weeks. Enjoy live scoring and statistical services through our Performance Tracker and Stat Tracker apps. Learn how to track your workout or camp and combine statistics in real time. Then create any type of report after your results are tallied. The Stat Tracker app helps keep your fans involved, whether they are in the stands or at home, with live in-game stats. For more information, visit CircleWSports.com, the official online platforms of PA Football News and the PSFCA Big 33.
The Cobalt Plus headset system delivers proven performance along with more users, more flexibility. That's why coaches across Pennsylvania trust Cobalt Plus. CoachCom makes tough headset systems for tough teams. We build headsets to help teams win. Call or click to learn more about Cobalt Plus from the proven leader in football communications.
Lobby. Blue 5. Blue 5. Lobby. Blue 5. Blue 5. Hey. Blue 5.
My name is Carlos Bradley. I'm a former NFL player and currently chairman of Safer Sports. What is Safer Sports? We are a soft shell technology company. Our product, the Safer Helmet Cover, has been tested at Virginia Tech Helmet Lab and is proven to reduce the risk of concussion by as much as 77%. So if you have a youth league, a high school or college, and you want to be safer, get in touch with safersports.com.
All right, here we are. We're live again. We're at Knoebels Resort. We're at the Nickle Plate Bar and Grill. Great food. I got Dave Fegley here with me. Dave is our Southern Columbia guy. And right to his left, we got a couple tigers, man. So we're going to learn what makes a tiger roar down here in Elysburg. And we're going to let the world know out there why the Southern Columbia Tigers are so good. So, guys, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Garrett Garcia, fullback, linebacker.
I'm Jay Cole. I play corner and receiver. Yeah, corner and receiver.
Are you on?
Mic check.
You didn't turn it on.
Yeah, it's on the top.
Top.
Right on top. There you go.
Hello?
Yep, there he is.
I'm Colden Bloom. I play defensive end and tight end.
All right, guys, welcome to the show. We had you guys on our preseason show, but we're rolling now, man. And you're undefeated. What is it, guys? And Jim Roth will be here in a minute. He's doing an interview inside. So Jim Roth will be up in a few minutes. But, guys, what is it that makes the Tigers roll here? Break the myth right now. I can tell you what they say. You know what they say, but tell them the truth.
Really, it's just consistency, whether it be before practice, during practice, after practice, in school, and especially during the game. We're always working to be better, in season and out of season. We're consistently trying to get better, and we're trying to better each other, and that's just what makes us a great program.
I will add one thing, being that people know I'm from Southern. I cover the Tigers. Obviously, I have to be neutral, being a sports writer, but playing for Coach Roth, you're not ever going to see, and I'm not pointing out any other programs, but I could count on not even one hand, probably one or two fingers that incidents have ever come up where there's been players getting in trouble and or academically ineligible over the last 20 years. And if it does happen, it's dealt with right away. And I can tell you that person's not going to make the second mistake twice.
Yeah, but can they tell us that?
So Garrett, I think next, Billy, having two brothers, he kind of has the added advantage from these two in terms of kind of seeing it from such a young age when it's happening right inside your house.
Yeah. Growing up, we always thought like Coach Roth was like, it was like God and then Coach Roth. So we were always looking up to Coach Roth and what he did with the football program. And
he heard his name.
Jim Roth on his way down right now to the stage. But go ahead, continue.
And he always has a plan on what we want to do. We very consistent practices. We do a lot of the same stuff, but it's obviously working for him the past and always will probably.
Jake, what do you want to add to that?
I would just say how hard we work in the off season. It's really an all year round thing. So when the season comes by, it's nothing new.
Welcome to the show, Jim. We were just talking about what makes a Tiger roar. We're breaking the myths. You know the rumors. You know everything. So we're asking the guys, and we touched base on consistency. Colden said, it's consistent. Every year after year, everything is consistent. And then we talked about discipline. And so how you run a tight program and the kids don't get in trouble. And if they do, it's handled correctly.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of issues in that regard. I mean, we're a rural district. We're a small school, obviously. And over the years, we've been fortunate to get a lot of players that come from good family backgrounds. And, they have strong values. And, like any high school kids, there's somebody getting a little trouble here or there, but we don't have too many problems with that.
They're kids, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's there's so many things that go into it, but the word consistency and continuity are definitely two keys. We do things a certain way, and we've tweaked over the years how we run things, and maybe a little bit scheme-wise, offensively and defensively, but we don't vary too much. And a lot of the stuff that we do is, I guess the best way to describe it is it's time-tested, and so a lot of our major philosophies and concepts don't really change. The other thing I have to add, I had an induction into our school's Hall of Fame recently, and one of the things, just doing a little background research on that, is to come up with the number of coaches that had 20-plus years in the program over the years.
That would go with consistency, like Colden said down there. Yep.
Exactly, and so they have such a strong idea of what we want to do, and they do a great job because they've been coaching a long time and they've had success. So, we just kind of keep the ball rolling. And one of the things that I've said over the years is with the run that we're on now and the success we've had recently, our assistants, our coaches do a good job of every year coaching the guys from day one like we're still trying to prove ourselves. And we haven't really done anything previously. And we're going to look forward, and everything's about the future and not the past. And they do a great job of that and just keeping the guys focused. And I know it's a cliche, one game at a time, one practice at a time, but if you don't take that approach with the past that we've had, things could slip real quick because people could become complacent.
So let me ask you, how difficult or how do you guys get fired up every season? I mean, you look at a couple of years ago, you had 5 Division I recruits on the team, and you destroyed all kind of records that year. And then the next year, you're all fired up again. How do you guys do it? How do you as players keep yourself so interested in the game?
I would say just you don't want to be the team that breaks a streak of not winning a state championship, or of the team who's not as successful. And especially after coming off last year with 3 losses, we feel like we have a lot to prove as a team.
Yeah, we learned a lesson out at PA Football News last year too. Don't ever count the Tigers out. We don't. Yeah. So what we were talking about before we even started the show tonight is with Dave and a couple other guys. I travel to state and I hear all kinds of things. The rumors. I'm not going to get into them, but I just look at them and I say, okay, if you're blaming Southern Columbia on this, why is Mount Carmel one of the winningest programs in the state? Why does Shamokin always have good football teams? Why does Selinsgrove always have good football teams? It's an area thing.
Danville.
Danville. Look at Danville. They're resurging and they're doing good. So it's the kids, it's the area, and I believe that Mount Carmel doesn't want to get outdone by Southern. Selinsgrove doesn't want to get outdone by Mount Carmel. I believe it's an area thing, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back, we've been able to maintain a lot of success at the state level, but if you just look at the runs that Berwick and Mount Carmel had, between the 3 programs, you're talking about 3 of the most successful programs in the history of PA football.
Yeah.
And really, if you eliminate the last 10 years where some of the non-boundary schools or private schools have really won a lot and won a number of state titles and done really well at the state level, up until then, there weren't that many others. I mean, you had Central Bucks West, you had Strathaven was on a run at one time. I just think back to Aliquippa has been strong for a long time, but it's not like there's that many teams in Pennsylvania that could take what these 3 programs have done in this small area.
It's amazing.
As close as we are together. And then, Selinsgrove's a bit of a bigger school, and they haven't been quite as successful recently at the state level, but, they won the state title, and they were making noise at the state level there
back
for a number
Bill
of
was
years.
there. When
Bill was there and when Dave Hess was there after
Yep.
him, they were real strong. So
Bill was an interesting character.
Yeah. Yeah, Bill was he was old school.
Yeah.
And he's definitely one of those guys that I got to know over the years that was set in his ways.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the ways things were going to go at Selinsgrove as long as he was running the show there.
And they worked for him. They worked.
Yeah.
But, So guys, let's move down to you guys again. With all the things that happen with Southern Columbia football, what is the one thing that really just, and this is for all 3 of you, really just charges you up every week? What is that thing that gets you charged up for Friday night?
We know we're a winning program, and we need to stay a winning program, and that's just our biggest motivation. Going out every week and making sure we win. No one wants to lose, but Southern Columbia wants to win more than anyone else, and I don't think a lot of people realize that we're just obsessed with the game. And in the area, it's a very District 4 is a very football-oriented area, but Southern Columbia is just a notch more than that.
Yeah, I would say, off of what Colton said, I would say how I mean, and you get to play with your best friends, like people that you've been around. So it's always a benefit. And like you said, you want to win, but you don't just want to win. You want to dominate teams.
Yeah, it's just you don't want to lose. You get the opportunity to make a big play. Your whole community, family's behind you. All your teammates are watching. You just want to go out there and do the best you can.
What's one of the best traditions they have here at Southern Columbia for football?
State championships.
Yeah, when we were at Berwick, it used to be Golden Corral on the way home. Remember from in Altoona? Everybody went to the Golden Corral, so they put it on their schedule every year. So you guys probably have the championship game already scheduled. You know where you want to go and what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of teams out there that want to take that schedule away from you right now. One of them is coming up this week, Mount Carmel. Let's talk about the game, Dave.
Yeah, I put the shirt on, the game. You look at this rivalry 10 miles down the road.
Right there.
Get right on Route 50.
They're right over there.
And you look at, as you mentioned, two teams that are not just historic in the sense of this area, but when you look at Pennsylvania as a whole, they're right at the top.
Yep.
Southern's the most successful program in terms of state championships, Eastern championships. Tigers have 13 PIAA state championships, including 6 in a row at the 2A level right now. Only team to ever have 5 in a row was Jim's teams back from 2002 to 2006. They've made 21 total state championships. Last year, they won their 30th District 4 championship. Mount Carmel area has 895 wins. So these are two teams that are looking at, on the case of Mount Carmel's side, it would take maybe a victory over the Tigers in the playoffs for them to reach 900 wins this season, become Pennsylvania's first all-time. Coach Roth, if the Tigers are able to go undefeated this year, he already has the state record for the most wins, but ironically, he broke George Curry's record a couple years ago for the most wins in Pennsylvania history at Hershey Park Stadium in a state championship.
Yeah, during that game, right after that game, you broke Curry's record. The following game, the first thing on the field after your game was the Jersey Shore Bulldog. I found that kind of ironic.
Yeah, another District 4 school, but Tigers run the table this year. This guy to my right is going to win his 500th game. I know he's not looking at it that way at all. You don't want to put the pressure on. It's one game at a time, but this rivalry with the Red Tornadoes was one. I was younger, but I remember the first game, how packed it was. Mount Carmel won that first game, Billy. And the Red Tornadoes actually won 6 of the first 8 years, but since then it's been dominated by the Tigers, including a 48-18 win last year at a snow-covered Silver Bowl in Mount Carmel. 5 times these two squads have met in the District 4 championship. The only time since both teams were AA, going back to 2017, other than when the 2020 Mount Carmel team had their season cut short due to a hazing scandal, these two teams have met in the district championship each of those years, and it's been 21 of the last 24 times Southern's won. But I think when you have a rivalry with kids that have grown up playing against each other, not just in football, other sports, it motivates the other team to want to one up and get kind of the bragging rights going into the off season, which in the case of these three guys, they're seniors, so you want to end your career on top.
How important is this game compared to all the other games on your schedule?
Being brought up in our program, we've always taught like Mount Carmel's our rival, and you don't really appreciate that when you're an underclassman. But now knowing like this is the team we need to beat to win a state championship, this is one of the teams we have to beat. It kind of makes things more real. We definitely amp it up a bit this week.
And you guys are friends with these guys on this team, so like in the summer and stuff, you hang out with, each other, right?
Yeah.
How does that affect you on the field?
I would say when you're on the field, you're friends, but you're not at the same time. You just think of it more as your team wants to come out on top and worry about friend stuff after.
Now, you guys know the story. You know how close you were to not playing for Southern Columbia, right? Jim, tell them the story about how this program almost did not continue.
Oh, about the program almost got canceled?
Yeah. Yeah,
back in the early 80s.
That's a story a lot of people don't know.
Yeah. We reached 27 losses in a row, and the school board was considering dropping the program and replacing it with soccer, because at that time, Southern, and right after the merger in the 60s, had a soccer program, but then when they started football, they dropped soccer. And back in the 70s, none of the area schools that played football had soccer. The only schools in this area that played soccer were Millville, Benton, West Snyder, and Middleburg, and they didn't play football. So soccer did not come back until, I don't know when.
Probably around the same time you guys played Mount Carmel the first
90s,
time.
early 90s?
Yeah, 95, 96.
There. But at any rate, back in the early 80s when we were struggling, they were considering dropping the program, and it was a pretty remarkable turn of events when you go back and look at it, because it was myself, Andy Ulickney, Al Lonaconis, who went on to become a superintendent, and Andy Mills, who's still with me. But two of the four guys, there were four of us coaching the varsity. Two of the guys had 1 year of coaching experience. The other two, it was our first year. So we didn't learn from anyone. We learned on the fly. But you know what, we just kind of drew from our own experience of playing at the high school level, and I was the only one that played some in college, and we were able to, not our first year we were winless. Our second year we scraped together 4 wins. Then we turned around fairly quick. Our third year we had 9 wins, and our fourth year we won 12 football games and an Eastern Conference championship, which was a big deal back then.
Yeah, it was huge.
And then we were rolling at that point.
Yeah, you guys, this team, did you guys know that story, that this team almost did not exist? You knew that? It's an amazing story. I mean, like, people are just like, are you kidding me? They weren't going to have a football team. And back then, football was new to Southern, like you said, so it really wouldn't have been a big deal at the time.
One other thing I brought up the other day, I was talking to somebody about the history of the program in the early days, and just so these guys can reflect on how things were at one time and how difficult it is. We walk down to our turf every day for practice, and it gets late in the year and the weather can be bad, and we don't have to go and mess around in mud anymore. For the first couple of years of Southern Columbia football, the first 2 years, the field was behind our bus garage, which is now a parking lot. And every day before practice, the team spread out across the field so far apart, and they had buckets, and they walked the field and picked up rocks off the field every day before practice. They had to do that every day.
Every day. Can you guys imagine that, huh? Now you got that nice turf down there. You just walk out and play football. Jim, so let's ask you this, turf or grass? Which one? I know why schools get turf, but which would you prefer if you had the ultimate choice?
Well, at the high school level, to me, there's no comparison. It's turf.
Yep.
Because, there's controversy right now with some colleges, and in the NFL, there's controversy about, turf or grass. But when they're comparing turf and grass, they're comparing artificial turf with grass fields that are, state of the art, that are immaculate, that are very level and consistent and so forth. Well, when you play on grass fields in high school, they're not like that.
No, they're not.
So.
No, you go to Penns Valley. Penns Valley has the highest crown I ever saw. I mean, like, when I'm on one sideline, I can't see the knees and below of the players on the other sideline. And then there are fields that go like this. They have a gully in the center. So you're right. It's different. Like Penn State, I don't know if you guys know, Penn State's football field is basically like a turf field. It's grass growing on top of a turf base. So all the water just goes right down through it. So, and that's how their field grows. And that's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's, I can speak from playing 06 to 08 for Southern. Our field back then, when it was grass, wasn't quite like that, but there was that crown that when you looked from one sideline to the other, you couldn't see the entire other team's, probably from their knees down, you couldn't see them.
Jim, I know you knew George well, George Curry. He used to have plays designed for, like, we would have a divot here. And we had plays designed for that where the receiver would go out and cut right at that divot so that the DB would lose a half a step.
If there was ever a coach that could figure out every angle under the sun to get an advantage in a football game, it was Mr. Curry.
Yeah.
That's just how
And
George
you guys,
was.
I don't know if you guys know, Joe Paterno used to, when they would look at the film of the team coming up the next week, he would tell the lawn keeper, I want a 3.5-inch turf in the center, 2.5 on the edges, or he would want a 2-inch turf in the center, all depending on what their tendencies were and how they ran. Try to slow the receivers down or try to slow the running backs down is how he would do it. And then he would build his offense off of the way they mowed the grass. So that's a neat story. But
and then, Billy, I think because all three of these guys, just since they're here, I would say, Jake, you can speak for this because your coming out party was the Loyal Sock game. How does playing a schedule consisting of two high-quality teams like Loyal Sock and Danville before going on to play a Mount Carmel and then a Wyoming area, you're not looking ahead, obviously, the Red Tornadoes, but how does playing a tough schedule like that benefit you guys? And then how also, in terms of being on a high winning, how hard is it to keep it at that level when you're playing against a team that people are expecting you to blow out?
Yeah, you definitely don't want to lower yourself to your competition. You want to play as good as you can as a team. And as far as the big games, I mean, you know what's at stake, especially like Loyal Sock and Danville after beating us last year. So they were good to have in the beginning of the season, see what kind of team we are and see what we can build.
Colton, Coach Ross mentioned, obviously, since the beginning of the year, and he started with the defensive line. Obviously, you have two all-state linebackers, one sitting here, and then a solid secondary. Talk about how the defense prides itself in the statement that defense wins championships. Offenses can win games, but you don't want to live by that. Obviously, you want your offense performing at a high level, but the joke coming in, I've heard from a couple people, and it makes sense. Obviously, you don't want to try and test it, but a lot of people said if Southern can score 21 points on offense this year, there's not many teams around the state that can beat them. So how do you take that defensive approach when the offense might be getting all the glory, all the glamour, headlines, and still pride yourself in that side of the ball to go with this overall consistency of dominance?
That was a really long question.
Well, you had me distracted over there with got some of our fan club.
Good night.
See ya, neighbor.
So we just kind of focus on ourselves defensively. We don't worry about how good our offense is playing that day. We just focus on making sure a team doesn't score on us and doing our jobs personally. And defense is very much an individual side of the thing. Obviously you don't want to get out of position and try to make plays where you'll allow a cutback lane or something like that. But you just have to focus on what you're doing. So as a unit, we can work together. And so just having the defensive mindset kind of keeps you away from looking at how good our offense is doing. And also, if our offense is doing great, we don't really care about the glamour because we know we did our job at the end of the day.
Now, adding on that, Billy, I'm going to redeem myself with a shorter question, but it's kind of a two-parter. Talk about another man that's on the defensive line with you that is not here tonight because he's actually playing a soccer game a mile up the road as he's a soccer player. Just talk about how impressive it is with what Isaac Carter's doing, going both sports, and you also being a long snapper, the importance of special teams because a lot of schools don't really consider special teams that important, but you guys are able to score consistently on extra points.
Special teams is definitely an overlooked aspect of football. One year the Chargers had the number one defense in the NFL and the number one offense in the NFL, and they didn't make the playoffs just because their special teams let up that many scores. And it's so true, especially at any level of football, that if you're not consistent in every aspect of football, you're not going to win championships. And so, Isaac's definitely perfected his craft as being a kicker, punter.
It's so important too. To have a good special. Jim, how much time do you guys spend on special teams every week?
We do it first thing every day in practice, and normally it's 15, 20 minutes. I know that a lot of schools don't spend that much time on it. But
When I do my when we do our top performers every week, and when I do the Keystone Club top performers, I scour the papers all over the state, and I look. You coaches also send me stuff. You guys send stuff in, but I scour to make sure you coaches don't miss anything. But the one thing that I really notice when I'm looking at all these box scores all over the state is kick failed, kick didn't make it, kick failed. I see a lot of it, and then I see the playoff teams kick. Their guys are on my stat sheet every week. 6 extra points, 5 extra points, 7 extra points. So I think it's really important. I used to joke around with God rest his soul. By the way, I want to mention we lost 2 legends this week. One of them was a good friend of mine, John Hayes. He was a coach at Bellwood Annis, and great coach. But I used to tease him all the time because Bellwood Annis never had a kicker. And I said, that's going to bite you, John. And it did in the first game of the playoffs one year. And I walked over to him, and he just looked at me and said, no, just give me a couple of minutes. I know what you're going to ask me. Just wait. So it's important, right?
it is important, but you just said something that kind of shook me. I knew John really well. I didn't know he passed away.
Yeah, he's been sick for the last couple of years.
Now, how many years has it been since he coached there?
He left there 4 years ago.
I knew it wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't that long ago.
But I knew him through the Coaches Association. I got to know him over the years. We only played them, I think, once in the playoffs. But I knew
for
him
the
well.
East-West games, the coaches would go out and he would host dinner at his house, and the coaches would all go over after practice and have dinner at his house when they left Altoona.
And he had a great career there too.
He did. He had an awesome career.
Great career.
Bellwood was always a great team every year, year in and year out. So we're gonna miss him. And Bob Stems also passed away. He was a coach at Bethlehem Catholic for several years.
I knew the name. I didn't know him personally.
I remember him coming to Berwick with Bethlehem Catholic to do scrimmages.
Yeah.
And he wasn't at Bethlehem Catholic very long, and they went back to Jersey. So, special teams are huge, Dave. I agree.
Yeah. And then we were talking, Billy, before they got here. You have Garrett's two brothers, Gage at Lehigh, Gavin at Kent State. Two most touchdowns scored in Pennsylvania high school football history. But Garrett, you got the bragging rights on them last week. I was asking Coach Roth, interviewing him after the game. He doesn't remember a 300-yard rusher. You had one breakaway from getting to 300 yards. I had you at 269. They said that you had 270, so we'll debate the yard jokingly. But you go back, I looked at the history books. Most yards rushing in a game you had, that's the most yards since your high school principal, Henry Hynoski, 20 years ago almost, had 416 rushing yards and 6 touchdowns in a 76-45 or 76-54 win over Pius X. And
I remember that game.
Poor Kyle Conahan, he didn't find the front page of the paper that night because Henry's 420 yards rushing and 6 touchdowns overshadowed his game, and he had 215 yards and 4 touchdowns, and he wasn't even talked about. That was the game that Southern Columbia broke the national record for rushing yards in a game with nearly 800 total. And over 1,000 yards. I forget what there was 1,500 yards of offense between the two teams. But Garrett, last season you were expecting to be able to rotate in with your two halfbacks now, Carter Madden and Loudon Murphy, at that one halfback spot, with obviously Braden Wislowski and Wes Barnes being the featured guys as returning starters. How devastating was it? Obviously, it's devastating at any point to get injured and miss time. When it's an ACL, you hear the the worst 3 letters for an athlete, season ending. But for it to happen on literally the opening kickoff, to come into a season after you break the school record, and when I say break it, you had 205 tackles your sophomore year. The career leader, Cal Holliday, he had the previous single-season record with 151, so you beat a now Michigan State all-Big Ten linebacker by 50-some tackles, so you were motivated going into last season. Just how devastating was it, and when did the shock kind of wear off to the point where, okay, this stinks, I can't do anything about it, but I have to get ready for my senior year.
Is he always this long in the tooth when he talks to you guys?
He can talk longer than me.
The first week really hit me hard. Just realize your season's over. But then after that, I kind of focused on just getting back as fast as I could to be able to wrestle and play football next year, my senior year.
What did you say to your brothers when they found out that you had more yards than them?
We just kind of laughed about it because I'm really not that much of a running back. We kind of needed a fullback this year, and Coach Roth chose me for it. And Coach Roth called some good plays for me that week, and the line blocked really good.
After the Elysburg game, Billy.
Hey, he's a Garrett, so he's got to be able to carry the ball a little bit, right? Or Garcia. Yeah.
After the Elysburg game, I was talking to him. He could have had a 98-yard touchdown run. He ended up going 80-some yards. I said, were you just tired from going both ways? He goes, no, I just wasn't fast enough.
That's crazy. That is crazy. So, big game this weekend. I want to wish you guys luck. Maybe I'll see you down in Cumberland Valley again. Chances are good. There's a lot of good teams out there that want your number and want to get a hold of you and take that number away from you. But, Jim, thanks for bringing the guys over. I appreciate it. Guys, thanks for being on the show again. I appreciate that, too. And the Southern Columbia Tigers, we're going to come right back after a few messages from our sponsors. Guys, have a great game this weekend. Enjoy it. We'll be right back with the Seals of Selinsgrove.
I would recommend becoming an official because you can feel like you're a part of a sport that you love.
We officiate for the athletes and for the sport that we love, and so as long as you keep them first, then it's going to be a great experience.
So the money I've made from officiating for the past few years, I've put all that money into savings to pay to finish my college education. In 6 months when I complete that, I will not be in any debt.
Officiating the state championship and getting that call to officiate the state championship was an emotional thing for me, just because of what I've been through, you know, the ups and downs, and getting that call really meant a lot to me. Sometimes I see student athletes that I officiated years and years and years ago, and they say, "Man, you did a great job. Thanks for everything you've done."
Yeah, go route. It's been phenomenal. I think just the ability when you got guys from all over the state and everyone's got things going on and trying to get organized in practice. Taking the language out of the offense and just giving these guys the ability to just go and learn on the fly from it. It's my first experience ever with it, and it's phenomenal. I would certainly use it.
At PAFootballNews.com, we've got you covered. If you're looking for the best coverage of high school football in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, check out PAFootballNews.com. From schedules to rankings, game coverage to Friday night scoreboard, live streams, and more, PA Football News is the one-stop shop for everything high school football in Pennsylvania. Follow us on Twitter at PA Football News and visit us at PAFootballNews.com. We got you covered.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Michael Sikorsky from the Funding Zone, the #1 fundraising company in the state of Pennsylvania. If you need help raising funds for your program, please contact us at 570-885-0900. Thank you.
The Cobalt Plus headset system delivers proven performance along with more users, more flexibility. That's why coaches across Pennsylvania trust Cobalt Plus. CoachCom makes tough headset systems for tough teams. We build headsets to help teams win. Call or click to learn more about Cobalt Plus from the proven leader in football communications.
My name is Carlos Bradley. I'm a former NFL player and currently chairman of Safer Sports. What is Safer Sports? We are a soft shell technology company. Our product, the Safer Helmet Cover, has been tested at Virginia Tech Helmet Lab and is proven to reduce the risk of concussion by as much as 77%. So if you have a youth league, a high school or college, and you want to be safer, get in touch with safersports.com.
Yep.
We're back. I cut that one off short.
That's
hey,
all right.
We got a new guest here today. Tonight we have a good friend of mine. I'm going to turn the volume down a little bit. I have a good friend of mine, Derek Hicks. How you doing? The coach of, we talked about the Seals earlier and the tradition and all that. Who'd you bring?
So I got my son, Caleb Hicks, who's a wide receiver cornerback for us. Mark Pastore, our quarterback, and he's listed as an inside linebacker. I don't think he's ever played defense in his life. And then Tucker Teets down there on the end, running back and outside linebacker.
How you doing, guys? Tucker, I've run into a couple times this summer.
Yeah.
Good football player, and he's having a great year, dude.
Thank
Good
you.
year.
Appreciate it.
Talk about your year so far.
Our offense has been getting a good push on. Our O-line's been doing really good. They've been working hard in the weight room, getting real big and strong. And our defense has been good and just on a roll right now and heading into Hollidaysburg. They're a tough football team, and just got to make sure we keep doing our things right, and we should be good.
Undefeated, Derek. And you're as close to completely undefeated as you can be without being undefeated.
Yeah. I mean,
we're not. We all know what happened that day and why we have a tie, and it's unfortunate, but still a phenomenal year so far for the Seals.
Yeah, great year. I mean, started the year with Del Val, who, I mean, wow, big school, big boys. These guys battled.
And you put it to them. How'd that feel? You beat a 6A powerhouse. How'd that feel?
Awesome.
Amazing. Few words. But, yeah, great. That was a great start. And, Juniata week 2 and then Jersey Shore. And the last few weeks, these guys have been pretty heavily favored and come out and done what they were supposed to do. And, put up scores in a hurry and let the young guys get a little Friday night experience, which is cool.
Going into that, let's talk about that battle with Jersey Shore. Sans Yen, boy, what a game that was. The whole game, it was a battle.
Yeah, that was. I mean, they had our number a little bit in the first half. Tucker had let me start over. Jersey Shore drove down, scored in just a couple plays on the opening drive. They kicked the ball out of bounds, and I opted to have them re-kick. And the ball took a funky hop over Tucker's head, and I'm kicking myself as he's picking it up at the 1 yard line. And next thing you know, he's gone for big kickoff return. And then the rest of the way, Mark hit a great slant to Gavin Bastian for a touchdown. We're down 21-14 at the half, made some adjustments, especially defensively, and we're able to shut them out the second half, get a score, and tie it up. And we'll I'm sure, hopefully, we'll continue this, week 11 or 12.
The tradition of Selinsgrove football. There were a couple down years, but overall, if you go back through history, Selinsgrove has always been a playoff contender.
Yes.
Are you guys aware of the legacies that go on at Selinsgrove, with Coach Bill and all those guys?
Yeah, of course. And my dad played for Selinsgrove too, and played with Derek, and so a lot of the legacy and everything else, we're trying to live up to it.
Yeah. Tucker's dad was a teammate of mine back in the day, which is ironic. Now our two boys are playing together. But that was you look at the kind of the late 80s is when they started to have a little bit of success, and we were able to carry some of it through the 90s, and those early 2000 teams under Bill Scott really kind of put us on the state map in 3A at the time, the 4-class system.
Yep.
And since then bumped up to 4A, and like you said, have kind of kept ourselves on the map.
And Billy, I can attest to that. Playing against Selinsgrove from 06 to 08, Coach Roth was talking about this. Southern used to have a thing like Mount Carmel does with their booster club. I remember my senior year in 08, I was picked as the player of the game, me and another lineman, and that was the year that Selinsgrove beat us, 39-7, pounded us, and I'm like, how is there a player of the game in this game? And he looked at me and said, well, you're the only D-back didn't allow Ryan Kaiser to score a touchdown, and that was about the only positive we had. So I'm like, oh, that's a really complimentary statement. But the following year, Selinsgrove wins a state championship. And I think from my playing days, and I've seen it on film in highlights, guys, how important is it to make sure to not give up on a play? You see so many times where a guy breaks a tackle and you have 4 or 5 other guys just standing there. How do the coaches really institute playing to the whistle?
I think they've made it pretty obvious,
They've made us run a lot, just if we give up on a play. So it's really been pounded into our heads, like, even if there's one guy on him and, all come in and finish down the play.
As a quarterback, talk about how important it is to turn a negative into a positive, because football plays are 4 seconds, 5 seconds.
Yes, sir.
How you contend. Obviously, you guys have a lot of positives, and taking those negatives as a leader, how important that is.
Well, I mean, you never know, like, what the negative can turn into a positive. So I mean, you gotta make every moment you have count. Every throw that I have, I'm out there trying to make the best read I can, best throw I can, put it on the money, and let my dudes make plays. So,
Tucker, any running play? What's your go-to running play and why?
Probably stretch and get me out in the outside, out in open space, and let me make my moves or make a read off the cutback or whatever that opens up into me an open field. I love it.
Yeah, have to make me block.
Now, speaking of you, being the son of a coach, how tough is that? Because you know what your dad's doing, preparing with the rest of the coaches, and just talk about that experience.
I think it's really tough. On Saturdays after the game, me and him really don't talk much, but he'll show me.
It depends on the Saturday.
Yeah, it does depend.
Well, so far this year, you had to.
Yeah, you got to look at the stat line
yeah,
first.
he'll watch film with me. He'll break it down. He'll tell me, like, if I'm not doing good, what I need to improve on, and all that. And he'll really tell Kaiser, at practice what I really need to work on.
Obviously, the biggest hurdle has been Jersey Shore. Unfortunate event that happened. Just how, each in your own words, kind of, you don't have to dive into it, but how did an event like that show you how you can't take anything for granted, and you never know when it's going to be your last opportunity to do really anything in life?
Most definitely. I mean, that could have just as easily been one of us, so we're definitely in that moment. I'm glad that we all got to come together, and we kind of put football aside there for a little bit, and everything was about Max in that moment. So I think that it was awesome that we got to put football aside and become, show the brotherhood that we've been building over, the last 3 years that we've all been in high school together. So, I think that it was one of those moments that you can't take for granted, and, it was definitely a tragic event, but.
Of course, yeah, and a bunch of our guys got arm sleeves or leg sleeves that said Max on it, trying to do anything to help raise support for him and his family. And at the time when we didn't know anything was going on, and we kind of got together as a prayer, and after we realized how tragic it truly was. So, yeah, it's very scary not knowing that could be any one of us at any given time, and it's just very tragic.
I just want to add on to that, okay? I know football players, any sport guy struggles when something happens to somebody in their sport. But I want to reiterate to even those people watching online, and you guys especially, that can happen in anything. You can be at work with your friends, working on a construction site, a board can break, okay? You can run into each other. You could be driving a race car, and one of your guys in your pit falls off the wall and hits his head. I want to make sure when there's an injury on the field, the players are not blaming themselves, because it can happen anyway. You could be playing baseball with your buddies outside. So I want you guys to know that. That's one of the things that I thought of when that happened.
Yeah, it was tough for these guys. I mean, after the game, like I don't know if it was Mark or Tucker said, came together. Tate Seacrest from Jersey Shore kind of led everybody in a prayer. But that Monday, that was kind of the conversation is, that it unfortunately it happened, but don't blame yourselves. I mean, you're playing a game, and to see the compassion of these guys was amazing that week.
Mm-hmm.
And that even that night, it's like Jersey Shore, I said other than 2020, we played them twice a year since 2013. And, you know, everybody, Shikellami's our big rival. Well, Jersey Shore's, we got 2 rivals now.
Yeah.
And to see that get set aside that night was, you know, a pretty significant, pretty cool event.
How does that happen? You guys only play Jersey Shore twice. I mean, like, why are you guys not playing every week?
Yeah.
Or every year?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, it's become.
I don't understand it.
You know, Gravish told me, I think they refer to us as like their cousins because it's the same type of kids. You know, hard-nosed kids, both teams. And when we play year in and year out, whether it's week 3 or in the playoffs, you know it's going to be a war.
When I look at the schedules over the last couple of years, though, you didn't play them. I mean, it only makes sense you guys play every year, Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
It only makes sense. You got to work on that to make that happen.
And it's like the Southern Mount Carmel thing.
Yeah, just like this. Right.
Coal Bucket, Mount Carmel, Schmoken, but the Southern Mount Carmel game has developed into the, as we said, the game for them. And building off what you said, Billy, perfect example. NFL has millions of dollars in equipment. Look at DeMar Hamlin last year, similar situation. We're sitting at Nickle Plate Golf Course, and I was here last summer where a guy was on the 9th tee box, had a heart attack, and passed away just that quickly. So don't think.
Yeah. So moving on, the rest of the season.
Yeah.
This week you have an interesting game with 5A Elysburg, my buddy Homer.
Yeah.
Coming you know, you guys are going to play each other. So there's a chance for you guys to knock off a 5A team who's not a bad team. They've lost this. I mean, their losses are to a very strong Fort Hill team.
Yep. Yeah, and that's been my sales pitch to these guys is please, please, please don't overlook this team.
No, they're good.
You know, they lost to Westinghouse, who, you know, Southern should recognize that name. You know, they're undefeated. Fort Hill, I believe the last I saw was ranked number 1 in the state of Maryland in their class.
For the last 200 years.
Yeah, what?
They're the Southern Columbia of Maryland.
Yes. Yeah, and then the Alleghenies having another fantastic year. So I think their combined losses, or the 3 teams they lost to, have something like a 16-2 record or something, like 2 undefeateds and a 2-loss team. So, yeah, Hollidaysburg's legit. They got athletes everywhere, and we need to be ready to go Friday night.
They are legit. They're a good football program. Your playoffs are set. Shamokin announced this week that they're opting out, and they're going to go Eastern Conference. How does that change the way you look at the rest of the games, or does it not change the way?
I don't think it changes at all. I mean, you know, our goal, we have one goal in mind, and, you know, we're going to do everything we can to get that to come true. You know, last 2 years we've been in the district championship. We haven't been able to come through. So I think this year we have a very strong opportunity. You know, so I don't think that changing has anything to do with our mindset, changing our mindset. So I think that we're just gonna head down and keep playing football.
And I think, Billy, you look at the 4 teams left. Obviously, you guys, Jersey Shore, nothing more needed with the rivalry there. You have a Shikellamy team that only has 1 loss that you might see in the playoffs. But how does a game like that really? We talked about this in the previous segment. Throw the records out, talk about those kind of rivalries, and when you play against kids you grew up against, how much more motivating it is to want to put on your A game against them.
Yeah, of course. They play every time we play them. It's like their Super Bowl, and it's all. No matter what the rosters are, it's always a good game for a bit, and no matter what, they'll always give it their best, especially if they're playing us. So, of course, it's a playoff game. Everything's going to be elevated again, and if we were to play them. So, yeah, it would be probably a good game for the most part.
And they're not a bad team. They're not. They're
No,
young.
they're a
They're
young
little.
team.
They're young. They're
Yep.
a little undersized on line. But that, what is he? A sophomore, the running back.
Yep.
Really good athlete. So I mean, he's got to present some challenges.
Yeah, no, I mean when we played them, that was the statement I made to their coach after the game. I'm like, man, the future's bright.
Yeah.
You know, and like you said, just a little undersized and young right now, but you know, a couple of years of growth, maturity, and weight room, and you know
If Jim does it right, he has a good team coming there.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely. And then we talk about tradition. So you mentioned it a little earlier while we were off the air, I believe, but. the Eastern Conference Championship. I was talking online with a guy, and he was trying to tell me, like, oh, the Whitfield has always been the standard for football in Pennsylvania. And I'm like, how do you know? Like, where'd you grow up? And he said, Carnegie. And I said, do you know what the Eastern Conference Championship was? And he goes, no. And I said, that was a championship game that everybody in the East wanted to win.
Yep.
That was our Whitfield title game. And he was like, yeah, but that's not like the Whitfield games. I'm like, but it was. I'm like, do you know how many? And then they like to pull the whole, oh, we've had these many pro guys. Do you know how many pro guys came out of the East? I mean, like, we have a ton of Division I talent.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Coming out of the East. And Selinsgrove is a part of that tradition because, like you said, back when Bill started to roll, they won the Eastern Conference Championship.
Yep.
And it's amazing. So, guys, bragging rights for the East on the line every game. All right.
Gotcha,
I'm an East guy. I try to stay, unbiased. But when I hear somebody say, "Oh, the West is always better," I disagree because I've seen the teams in this area dominate. And I remember, like we were talking about with Jim Roth, a few years where those teams out West didn't win any games because there were 3 teams in this area that were winning football games. And now we can say Southern Columbia and Jersey Shore are also a part of the big pride of Eastern football and Coal Region football. So how many times you guys play games outside of the area?
I don't
really
think
never.
too much. I don't think ever.
Hollidaysburg is going to be it, right?
Hollidaysburg, Del Val came into us there week 1, but yeah, this year our schedule's pretty local. You know, years past we used to it didn't work out this year, but we always, of course, played Berwick for many years. And we tried to schedule some Harrisburg area. We had Trinity, Middletown many years ago. And again, just trying to branch out and kind of get that Selinsgrove name out into some different markets.
Do you guys realize Coal Region football is a whole different brand of football than what some of these city teams play? Do you know that?
Personally, no.
Yeah,
Derek will tell you. It's different. It's Coal Region football is played differently. Different areas play different football. How would you describe Selinsgrove football in one word?
Another debate. Who wants to go first?
And you can't repeat the word.
I don't even know. I have no idea.
In one word only?
One word.
One word.
Defense.
Describe Selinsgrove football.
Defense.
Say dominant.
We've always had a strong defense. So.
He's right.
Yeah.
Selinsgrove, even back when Bill was running the show, he had a strong defense.
Yep. Yeah. That was back in the day, Dave Hess, and then he in 08 handed it over to me, and I was fortunate to get to kind of learn from him, and that's certainly been defense is a pride of ours, no doubt.
And then finally, what would you define, not wins or losses, what would you define as a successful season?
For the most part, when we were probably younger, was improving, but now it's just going out, giving everything we have for our senior year, and just giving everything we have. That wouldn't be a good season for me.
It's a good answer.
I agree with that.
Yeah, we can't end it any differently, Derek?
No. I mean, for me, it's like I look at these guys, and you want the best for them. You want to, 3 seniors sitting here that all have dreams of playing a college sport. So, to me, success is we want to find them a home and help them get to the next level.
Well, I hope you get to the next level too. I think you have a good chance. I've talked to a coach about you and a couple other guys, but I know. We'll talk in a minute. This is the Selinsgrove Seals. I want to thank them. We are at the Nickle Plate down at Knoebels Resort at the golf club. If you have a chance to come here, great place. I'm sorry some people didn't come here. You're missing out on a good time.
Great food.
Great food. The food has been phenomenal. So this is the State of PA football. I'm Billy. This is Mr. Fegley. We call him Dave. So we're going to come back after these commercials, and we're going to have the Mount Carmel Red Tornadoes with us. We'll be right back.
Clock is going to keep it. Whitlock up the middle.
Yeah, go round. It's been phenomenal. I think the ability when you got guys from all over the state and everyone's got things going on and trying to get organized and practice. Taking the language out of the offense and just giving these guys the ability to just go and learn on the fly from it. It's my first experience ever with it, and it's phenomenal. I would certainly use it.
My name is Carlos Bradley.
My name is Michael
I'm a
Sikorsky
former
from the Funding
NFL
Zone,
player
the
and
number
currently
one fundraising
chairman of
company
Safer
in the state of
Sports.
Pennsylvania.
What is
If you need help raising funds for your program, please contact us at 570-885-0900. Thank you.
My name is Carlos Bradley. I'm a former NFL player and currently chairman of Safer Sports. What is Safer Sports? We are a soft shell technology company. Our product, the Safer Helmet Cover, has been tested at Virginia Tech Helmet Lab and is proven to reduce the risk of concussion by as much as 77%. So if you have a youth league, a high school or college, and you want to be safer, get in touch with safersports.com.
All right, we're back at the Nickle Plate, and we got some new guests, Dave.
Yes, we do. We said coming into the game, coming up this week, Red Tornadoes and Tigers. Every time these two teams play on the field, you don't know what to expect. Last year, you guys got the regular season meeting. Tigers got the district championship meeting. I know you guys. Introduce yourself to the rest of the state.
Jacob Schultz.
And by your positions.
I play tight end and outside linebacker.
Cole Spears, quarterback. Luke Blessing, running back.
And you're John Dara.
Coach.
Yeah. Welcome to the show, guys. Welcome to the state of PA football. Glad you guys have you guys here. 5-2 right now. Mount Carmel always a strong team. Those 2 losses don't mean anything right now, right, John?
Yeah, obviously we want to use them as learning experiences, but we're always looking on to the next week and trying to figure out ways we can get better.
So, how do you get better?
Well, it starts with practice. I mean, we're constantly getting new film on our teams that we played during that week, and we practice really hard. We work hard in the weight room, and it starts with practice.
Where does the pressure come in? You play for one of the winningest high school football programs in the state and in the country.
The winningest in the state.
In the country, yeah. So where does that pressure start? When does it start on you guys? Is there any pressure on you to continue that tradition?
I guess a little bit of pressure just like from how rich our program is, and Nickle Region football, just like how rich we are. We're well known around here, winningest team in the state, obviously. But we just put our heads down. We don't really focus on it too much. We just work really hard and just try to uphold it.
Talk about Cole Region football, John.
Yeah, I mean, it was something that...
You have your mic on?
Do I?
No, I don't think you do. You do?
Yeah, it's on.
All right, am I good?
I can't hear him.
Say
Now I
something,
can't hear
John.
myself.
Good? Yes? No?
What number you got? Let me see there. Number 1. All right, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
There you go.
There you go. So the question was on Cole Region football. I mean, it was really something I learned about at a young age. I probably didn't even understand what the Cole Region was, and people used to talk about Cole Region football. And just growing up was really some great games and some great experiences I had going to Mount Carmel football games and some classic rivalry games and some runs through the state playoffs. So it's really something that had a big impact on my life, and I guess it's really the reason why I'm doing this right now.
What led you to Mount Carmel football?
Well, I guess I went to school there, so my parents took me to games when I was young. And
well, no, to come back to coach.
Oh, to come back to coach. So, yeah, it was somewhere again near and dear to my heart when I graduated and went to school, and then when I came back, I actually coached at Mount Carmel for a year as a volunteer under Mike Brennan, and then Coach Kogut gave me an opportunity to coach at Tri-Valley. So I was there for 5 years. Then at North Schuylkill, where I was a teacher. And then when the job opened up, I applied, and it was great to come home.
Coach Mike did a great job. Whitey before that did a great job. What kind of pressure is there on a coach that takes over a program like Mount Carmel?
Well, I just try to turn things into positive, and really the pressure is a blessing. I mean, if no one cared, there wouldn't be any pressure. But obviously we have a lot of tradition. A lot of people do care. And you want to coach at a place like that. You don't want to coach at a place where no one cares. There's no one in the stands on Friday night, and a loss doesn't mean anything. So, again, we view it as a blessing.
Yeah, I would add before asking questions, and I'm going to go to Cole. Based on this, I'm in the same situation. My dad's side of the family's Mount Carmel area graduates. My dad just retired from working there a long time. My mom's side was Elysburg, so Southern. So I actually student taught at Mount Carmel with your coach's sister, Mrs. Demansky. So I'm very familiar with everything. Cole, you have the even more unique perspective of not only you're playing against a cousin, but you're the quarterback of one side. Your first cousin's the quarterback of the Tigers. How cool of an experience is that?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like something that like made up in like a book or something. Like, you don't really see that often, but it's just cool to play against them.
Luke, you're obviously carrying the rushing attack, but seeing the passing attack this year, how nice is that to be able to have that multi-dimensional offense where you guys aren't having to rely on the ground game? Like in years past, Coach Dara's bread and butter, obviously a lot of success on the ground, but kind of equaling that out this year.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more nice. Like,
teams don't know what to prepare for. Like we could like run the ball like every play, we could pass the ball every play. Like teams just don't know like what to do. Like they can't with the box. Like then we pass it outside and all. It's just I think it's a lot better. Teams don't know we're gonna run the ball every play. Like they don't know what play we're running. It's a lot better.
Jake, we talked with some of the other guys. Talk about the importance of special teams. I think Colton Bloom from Southern brought up the Chargers in the NFL a couple of years ago. Number 1 offense in football, number 1 defense in football, didn't make the playoffs. How important is that third facet, especially in a game, not just against a rivalry, but one that's going to be decided maybe on a turnover here or there, or a game-breaking play on special teams?
Well, yeah, I mean, every game starts with special teams. I mean, that first play of the game is you have to make the biggest hit. You have to make yourself known. I mean, that's where every game starts. I mean, that's where the second half starts, and you get your extra points from special teams. You get field goals from special teams, and special teams wins you games.
You guys, Southern's looking to get Coach Roth his 500th win. You guys are looking to be a part of a team to this season get to 900 wins. Talk about the tradition of Mount Carmel football. Obviously, Red Death defense, GBR. What is it like, Cole, every Friday, just a tradition, and how has it exceeded your expectations from when you were growing up, being in middle school or elementary, to what it is now when you're a part of it?
Yeah, it's an honor and a blessing to be a part of such a great program. As a kid, you always look up and watch Tornadoes. You're like, wow, I can't wait till one day to be on that field and wear the red and white. And now we're like living a dream, so it's amazing.
Heard Coach Dara say blessing. You said blessing. Let's go to a blessing. Luke, obviously, 1-2 punch last year with Xavier Diaz. What makes him so difficult to bring down? You're kind of the run at ground and pound type of guy, where he's that type of player like Southern had with Braden Wisloski the last couple of years, where if he's in the opening, very hard to bring down.
Yeah, I mean, it's really tough bringing him down. And then, like, with, like, the 1-2 punch, like, we could run the ball up the middle of me, and then we'll throw a sweep outside to him, and you don't really – it's hard to adjust because, like, he's, like, fast. You can't keep, like, your fast guys outside. You have to, like, they're hard to tackle on. He's just – and then, like, up the middle, we run up hard with our big line and all, so it's really tough for him to tackle, bring him down. He's just really fast and quick.
Jake, you know what you guys lost last year, a lot of talented players, but talk about the younger guys stepping up, actually. And I said about my family, my cousin's actually one of your defensive ends, Max Chiricki, having a good year as a freshman. So talk about the underclassmen and how they fulfilled in these roles.
Well, it was an easy transition for them. I mean, like, all the seniors get along with the freshmen, and they filled those roles perfectly. And they work their butts off in the weight room to earn the spots that they play, and they're really difference makers on the team.
John, every year Mount Carmel seems to find some athletes out of somewhere. It's not an area that grows very, very much, if at all. And, you know, I know you compete against Centralia High School to get players, but where do they come from every year in Mount Carmel? Like, they're all the same names. Like, how does it happen there?
Yeah, I think, you know, we do have some homegrown talent. Like you said, we do have some names that have been around for generations, so it's great when you see some of those on the team. And then the other one, I think, is just player development. I mean, we stress the off season. Our summer is really important. We do a lot of just things in the summer just to get guys better. And a lot of times you have a kid who maybe is a freshman and isn't that great, and maybe in his sophomore sees a little bit of time, and by his junior year he becomes a starter. So we really pride ourselves in that, and I think we have some guys that fit that this year, and we hope to continue to do that in the future.
Let's get to the game, man. Let's get to the game. How important is this game to the Mount Carmel Red Tornadoes?
And stare the Tigers in the face when you're saying it. I'm just kidding.
I mean, everyone looks forward to this game. I mean, I'm sure they circle the game on their calendar. I mean, just leading up to that game, you just feel like it's just a different feeling because you know you're playing a well-rounded team, and you know it's going to be a dogfight every time we play them.
And you're playing your friends. Like, you guys are friends with a lot of these guys.
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, it's different when you play people that you know, but it's a different feeling playing them. I mean, it's always a good game. So
So far this year, okay, like I said, you have 2 losses. Would you consider up to today, right now, the season a success for the Tornadoes? For the Red Tornadoes?
I'd say yes, because we're just getting guys better every week. Because, like, obviously you said we lost a lot of guys, so there's suspected growing pains with a new offense and having new guys fill in. But, yeah, I'd say it's a success. We're getting better every week. Yeah.
Quarterbacks always have good coach answers, don't they?
Definitely.
Cole, I asked Garrett Garcia the same thing. You came off a devastating injury. Just talk about senior side. Obviously, that's motivating enough. How much more motivation do you feel you had coming into this season, knowing what you went through with all the recovery compared to last year?
And what's it like being on the end of the table with heat?
Not only me, but Luke tore his ACL also his freshman year. But yeah, definitely. When you tear your ACL and you come back like that, any devastating injury, you don't take it for granted because you just never know like what play, like what your last play. You just never take it for granted. But yeah, in the off season with rehab, you just every single day it was just you look forward to every day getting better. Then you go from not being able to walk after surgery to playing Friday nights.
And then Luke, how much of a blessing is it to have a team like Southern that you guys played growing up?
Good night, guys.
Each year you guys have played twice, other than 1 year since you were both in 2A. It's been the district championship. So how did last year, where you guys won that first meeting and then them winning the district championship at your place, how did that change your perspective of from the previous years when Southern won both meetings?
I just think it was like a big thing. Like, I don't know, like, and then coming into this year, especially like we know like if we win the first game or whatever happens the first game, like we know like we don't like we're not guaranteed the second game. Like we have to prepare the same as prepared for the first game and all. So.
And obviously last year, Billy, being there, it was an odd game in the sense that you couldn't even see the yard markers.
I know, I remember.
It was a whiteout. I talked to Coach Dara about the game, and obviously he handled it with class. I'm not going to get into fantasy football with him because somebody beat me this week in fantasy football. But just talk about.
Good job. He needs to knock down a peg once in a while.
You are in the unique perspective where you're not only the coach of this rivalry, you were a star player, one of the star players back winning a state championship right around when this rivalry really was getting going. So how do you look at it differently now compared to back then? Obviously, different role, but the history of it and how it's transpired.
Well, yeah, I honestly remember being a kid, and I wasn't on the team when Mount Carmel and Southern first met. I was, probably in about 5th or 6th grade, but it was a rivalry from the first time we ever played. Just they were a program that was really on the rise. I believe they had won a state championship. We had won one a couple years before, and there was a lot of hype around the game. And when I played, obviously, we were AA and Southern was single A, and the game, it was a huge rivalry, and it definitely mattered. It was bragging rights, and we played early in the season, so it was a gauge on how you were going to be the rest of the year. But when it was over, it was over. These last couple of years, it's something you circle on the schedule. It's still a huge rivalry, all the things that go into that. And but then there's a really good chance it's going to happen again. So that's kind of something we've become accustomed to. It's about 5 or 6 times now it happened, and we're looking. Hopefully, it happens again this year.
I mean, the history of Mount Carmel football. Did you know? Like, did you guys realize coming in that you had 900 on the chart?
Yeah.
You were ready to hit that. I'm sure you're a stat guy always.
Jose knows everything.
Jose.
We got the sign above the press box at the stadium. So yeah.
Yeah.
How motivating is that, guys, to see that number change each week? Obviously, if it doesn't change,
and you guys are going to be the first team in Pennsylvania to hit 900 wins. I mean, it's not even close. You'll be the first team to do it.
Yeah, it's a great feeling, but I think we just take it game by game. We don't look ahead. We just like to win one game at a time, and if we get it, great. If not, I mean, whatever. I mean, we're just taking it game by game.
That's a good attitude to have. Definitely good attitude. John, growing up in the Cole region, we discussed earlier the successes of this area, the Berwick, Mount Carmel, Southern Columbia era where nobody out west could beat you guys when you got to the state championship game. Do you see that developing with some other teams like a Mount Carmel, Selinsgrove, Jersey Shore, that kind of thing? I guess what I'm trying to get at is, do you agree that it's an area thing? There's a lot of pride in this area.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you go other places and you talk to people, and I'm just having normal conversations, and football comes up a lot, or they're kind of looking at you like, why do you care so much about this stuff? You notice that it's special. I mean, like when I went to college, it was the same thing. I'd always be talking about Mount Carmel, and I guess the other kids thought I was nuts, but it's definitely something when you go away from here and you're a little bit removed, you realize how much different it is and how good you have it.
Yeah, it is different around here. I mean, you guys don't see it, but you will in your future. When you move on from here, you'll see the importance of how big Mount Carmel football is for all of you, including the entire area, not just Mount Carmel. But you'll discover that you really did have a brotherhood with more people than you thought. It's something special in this area. And I'm not saying this is the only area that has that. You know, you have Aliquippa and Hopewell and all them. They're all in a little community, and, you know, over the past years they were successful in different little pockets. But in my heart, because I'm from this area and I'm from Berwick, I think it's something special. I think it's something that you guys can cherish for the rest of your lives.
And I think adding to that, you say about Aliquippa, it's a different feel when it's a city with so many people. We have Berwick, Mount Carmel, Southern graduates. It's so close, tightly knit. You guys don't remember, maybe younger. How many years has it been since Bleacher Creatures have been down?
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
I wouldn't say maybe 2014.
But the end zone bleachers, I mean, there's just traditions around here that stick together because you're only graduating 100 and some kids.
And I think a lot of the difference also, Dave, is because I've traveled around the state and I've been like Aliquippa and those guys, they're not really on top of each other, but around here you're not on top of each other. There's a little bit of a distance, but you're still brothers. You're still that close. You know, you consider yourself neighbors. I mean, technically you are. There's a mountain in the way, but, you know, in a valley. But technically you're neighbors. But it's just a different feel in this area.
Yeah.
And I can include, like, North Schuylkill in that area, Minersville, all that. You know, it's a different feel around here than what I see around the state. You know, when you go up to Wilkes-Barre, it's different. You go down to Allentown, it's different down there. Palmerton's out in the middle of nowhere, you know, and so they're really spread out. You get up north in District 9, and you got to travel 45 minutes every game. So it's just a different feel, and I want you guys to cherish what you have here. And don't ever overlook what you have right now.
I have one other question. Are we good on time? I know you've been saying my
we got a few minutes.
Go
he
to
is
the
long
toughest.
in the tooth, by the way.
Go to the quarterback for this one, and I'll use Southern, who you're playing. Do you feel like we'll start? Billy said about North Schuylkill, obviously a tough one, week one, different cramping issues and different things. You guys know you could have won that game, but then the Milton game was kind of one that obviously they're a good team, but you guys, it was a shock around the area. Let's be honest. Last year, you go into the district championship with no losses. Southern goes in with 3 losses and ends up winning a state championship. So, Cole, how do you feel losing those 2 games has helped prepare you guys looking forward? Because last year you didn't know what it was like to lose. Now you can learn from those mistakes going forward, because when you get to the playoffs, everybody's 0-0.
Yeah, obviously you don't want to lose any games, but sometimes you can look at it as a loss, like as a blessing in disguise, because it like shows your flaws, and we're able to capitalize on our flaws, make them something we're good at now. But yeah, like you said with the district championship last year, having no losses, it was obviously crazy to be part of a undefeated regular season and all. And although we have 2 losses this year, I mean, we don't really worry about it. We just take it game by game, week by week, day by day, play by play.
Anybody have anything to add on that?
I just think that, like, you know, I wouldn't change a thing if, like, win or lose. Like, I mean, we just take those losses, we check what we see what we did wrong, and then, like, we just fix those mistakes so we don't make them again, and we just move forward from that. We don't look back. We always look in the present. We don't look in the future. We take it day by day.
And Billy, I'm very excited. Man behind the camera here that you can't see, Mike Ferlazza. his partner, Ron Jabuski, who does the Black Diamond games for Mount Carmel, when we have a crossover game, it's the home team that does it. Well, his partner's a former lineman at the University of North Carolina. He went down to watch the Tar Heels, so I get to go back to my old roots of doing color commentary this week as Michael do the play-by-play. So I'm excited to get back to the Silver Bowl because every time the red and white and black and gold go up against each other, joking around, could be chess, could be basketball, there's pride on the line and everybody wants to perform at their highest level.
And I have a feeling this game is not going to be a runaway for anybody. I think this is going to be a good game this year, and I'm excited to see the results. Happy that you get to do the broadcast. We got Jaden out here. He's going to be on the sidelines with a camera taking pictures.
And then my article with PA Football News.
And then you can find a recap on PA Football News. So it's going to be, and we got a cool picture earlier that we're going to use tomorrow. But, hey, guys, thanks for coming to the show. John, I appreciate you coming on over and being a part of our show on the state of PA football. This was probably one of the biggest shows I've ever had. I mean, we have 3 of the top teams in the state of Pennsylvania right now and on the show tonight. So excited to have the Tornadoes and the Red Tornadoes, I'm sorry. One of the things that I can remember about, I'm old, the marching Red Tornadoes, they used to be the thing in Pennsylvania. Do you guys know of that tradition? Your band used to be one of the premier bands in all of the East Coast. The marching
They
Red
still are.
Well, they still are. Before a game,
Red
right?
Tornadoes.
Yeah,
They-
you should
they
see it
used-
before a game. It's awesome.
The best.
I did. I saw them 3 years ago. I think it was. When was the last time I was down there? It was during the COVID year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Coming down, what's that street?
3rd Street.
Third
Coming down
Street.
to, yeah, let's talk about that real quick. That tradition. How long has that tradition been going on? So what they do is you start where at the school
There's a parade. It starts up by the town park.
or by the town park?
And
Is
it's
it?
3rd Street pretty much marches right through town. It's a bigger street in town, so yeah, right in front of the stadium. But it's honestly great. You know, our whole school is very connected. We all get along. The cheerleaders, the band, the TV studio, the team, and every pregame, you know, you're warming up. The other team, especially if they've never been in a Silver Bowl before, you know, right at the end of warm-ups, you hear the fire trucks coming, the band playing, and you know it's game time. So.
It's a pretty cool tradition. But going back to the band thing, my aunt was she was a smoking grad, and she used to take me to watch the Mount Carmel and the Marching Red Tornadoes. Like, we'd go all over the state just to watch them perform. And she always said if my mom ever found out I'm going to follow the Red Tornadoes, I'd get my butt kicked. But that was pretty special. They were huge. They were a huge band. It was enormous. But and I will say they are still good. I saw them 3 years ago.
And you said about the Red Tornadoes versus Tornadoes. Do you guys hear this often? Settle the debate. I've had some people not yell at me, but it's not Mount Carmel, it's Mount Carmel area.
Yeah,
Does that come up big a lot?
I don't hear it much, but I would prefer Mount Carmel area.
Okay, because it's not just Mount Carmel, because of Coltmont. So I've tried to add the area every time, obviously Southern Columbia area, but you can say SCA, MCA. But that's one thing, Billy, you mentioned. It's like Mount Carmel is Mount Carmel, Coltmont.
Township, Atlas,
the
Heights,
Yep.
all those places.
All those places. Southern's kind of similar. Not as many.
Don't forget Centralia.
The burning town. But Southern, in the same way, has just 3 small communities, Elysburg, Catawissa, and New Media. So I think that's what we're biased being on the eastern side, but compared to your Pittsburgh side of the state, big city, I don't think the connection's there. And you really don't find that.
No, you find it in the smaller
bonding
areas, like
in the bigger schools.
You find it in the Clarions and areas like that. You know, that's where you find that. Like, even out where I'm at, like, it's not Penns Valley area; it's Penns Valley. You know, so everybody in the valley goes to Penns Valley and Bellefonte, and you know, you have Bald Eagle area, which is, you know, that's Milesburg and a couple other different areas. So Wingate, Milesburg. So it's a couple different, but. Again, that's a winning program, BEA. So I think that type of community lends itself to winning. Sorry, I mean, like, I get it. Central Bucks West, they're really good too, and they're a city team. But I just think there's something special about an area team. It is. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Mount Carmel area Red Tornadoes. Thanks for being on the show, guys. This is State of PA Football. We're coming to you live from the Nickle Plate Bar and Grill. the great Knoebels Resort. We'll be right back to wrap up our show. I want to thank everybody for being on the show. We're going to hear from a couple of sponsors. We'll be right back.
I would recommend becoming an official.
Thanks for coming on, guys.
I gouged that top thing in my
part of a sport that you love.
We officiate for the athletes and for the sport that we love, and so as long as you keep them first,
meals are on me.
Then it's going to be a great experience.
No, you're good.
So the money I've made from officiating for the past few years, I put all that money into savings to pay to finish my college education. In 6 months, when I complete that, I will not be in any debt.
Officiating the state championship and getting that call to officiate the state championship was an emotional thing for me, just because of what I've been through, you know, the ups and downs, and getting that call really meant a lot to me. Sometimes I see student athletes that I officiated years and years ago, and they say, "Man, you did a great job. Thanks for everything you've done."
My name is Carlos Bradley. I'm a former NFL player and currently chairman of Safer Sports. What is Safer Sports? We are a soft shell technology company. Our product, the Safer Helmet Cover, has been tested at Virginia Tech Helmet Lab and is proven to reduce the risk of concussion by as much as 77%. So if you have a youth league, a high school or college, and you want to be safer, get in touch with safersports.com.
Yeah, go route. It's been phenomenal. I think just the ability when you got guys from all over the state and everyone's got things going on and trying to get organized and practice. Taking the language out of the offense and just giving these guys the ability to just go and learn on the fly from it. It's my first experience ever with it, and it's phenomenal. I would certainly use it.
Circle W Sports is the complete all-in-one platform for high school sports, designed by former athletes, coaches, and athletic directors. Circle W Sports gives school and team personnel an easier solution to run their entire athletic departments with the help of these features. League Manager makes creating master schedules a breeze. Configure your divisions, build schedules, track league all-stars, and much, much more. Referee Manager helps assign and track game officials in the same platform. And with RefPay, your officials can get paid within hours instead of days or weeks. Enjoy live scoring and statistical services through our Performance Tracker and Stat Tracker apps. Learn how to track your workout or camp and combine statistics in real time. Then create any type of report after your results are tallied. The Stat Tracker app helps keep your fans involved, whether they are in the stands or at home, with live in-game stats. For more information, visit CircleWSports.com, the official online platforms of PA Football News and the PSFCA Big 33.
All right, welcome back to the Nickelback. We're going to wrap things up here, but before we do, Dave, we got a special guest here. You want to introduce your buddy?
Brought it up. Mike, if you were listening to our last segment, Mike Ferlazza, he's going to be doing the game, does all the Mount Carmel broadcasts. I do the Southern broadcasts. I can provide you with the is my mic on?
Yeah.
Okay. I can provide you with
turn the speaker off.
Oh, good. I can provide you guys with the Southern perspective. Mike, you've seen all the Red Tornadoes games.
focusing on the 2 losses because we're with schools that don't lose that often.
Right.
What did you feel was the biggest difference in the North Schuylkill loss compared to the Milton loss?
Well, the North Schuylkill loss, it was kind of a tough one for Mount Carmel. They led 27-13 in the third quarter. As you might remember, it was an oppressive night that night. First game of the season.
It was hot.
Yeah, none of those teams are used to doing 48 minutes, and they had to against a really good North Schuylkill team that runs no huddle, and it's a fast no huddle. They actually set a record against Mount Carmel running 80 offensive plays that game. And by the end, actually it started middle of the third quarter, it seemed like almost every play there was a cramp on the field for Mount Carmel. Some of them, there were pretty severe cramps. In fact, you had Jacob Schultz here. I know they took him back to the locker room. Coach told me some of them were full body cramps. They were so bad. And by the end of the game, they were just worn out. They had nothing left when North Schuylkill drove down for the winning touchdown. Mount Carmel probably had 5-6 starters on the sidelines during that drive, and they were deep in the depth chart.
No matter how you prepare for a team like that, in a situation like that, you can't be prepared. They run that offense all summer long.
Yep.
They know what they're doing. They're moving. They're going, and they've been running for years. And Mount Carmel comes in. They got new guys. Young guys are young.
Yep.
So they're not used to that kind of a pace, and that will hammer you.
And the other thing is that we're talking about a 3A program versus 2A. They had a few more players. They had some more depth, more one-way players. And so, give North Schuylkill all the credit. I mean, they wore them out at the end, and that's how they won that game.
And then Milton, talk about Milton. I want to know a little bit about, I know Peyton Rarick's a really good football player, and they're not a bad program.
They're not. They're good defensively, and they've been solid defensively the whole season, and that's won them a lot of ball games. They are a little bit offensively challenged, really more one-dimensional. Chris Doyle's their fine running back, and they ran him 34 times against Mount Carmel that night, and he did well against them. But defense is really what did the job for Milton that night. Plus, and I think all of them would say they weren't on their best game that night. Offensively, we were having a lot of mishandling at mesh points and things like that with read options, things that we hadn't seen all season long. A lot of penalties. In fact, you probably heard Mount Carmel scored what seemed to be a go-ahead touchdown late in the game, called back by a holding penalty. So they were right there on the edge, but Milton was the better team that night. I give the Black Panthers a lot of credit, and that's probably going to hurt Mount Carmel in the final analysis, because your first goal every year is to win your conference championship, and that was the Pennsylvania Heartland Athletic Conference Division III game. Milton now has the lead in that. They do have one more game against Warrior Run, which you would normally say, easier win for Milton, but Warrior Run's run 4 in a row now, and they could win out going into that game. That'll be a pretty good game, because that's 2 rivals, Milton and Warrior Run, at the end of the season. So, but tomorrow night, obviously the big one for both of these teams, really. Talking to Jim, I said,
it's Friday night, right?
I'm sorry.
We're really excited.
I'm really excited. Friday night. But the thing about Jim, I said, it's almost like you're on the revenge tour this year.
Yeah.
They had 3 losses in the regular season last year. They've avenged 2 of them. And they actually already avenged the Mount Carmel loss, winning in that district championship game last year. But I know they would love to, go over and beat the Red Tornadoes at the Silver Bowl again. Likewise, I think, Mount Carmel area feels like they owe Southern something, because I went to the banquet last year for Mount Carmel area, and I can tell you, while they went 12-1 and everybody felt great about the season, there was a bit of a hole in that season because of the fact that they didn't advance on and they didn't beat Southern, and Southern went on and won the state championship, and I think that a lot of them felt like that could have been us.
And I think the fact that Southern has already won the PHAC Division II, they're looking at it a different way. They're looking ahead, knowing that they then have, after that, a Wyoming area team that's very good, undefeated at this point.
That's going to be a good game, by the way.
So you can't look ahead of Mount Carmel area. Obviously, it's one game at a time, but we talked to Coach Dare about how this team could win 900 games this season for Mount Carmel. On the other hand, if Southern Columbia wants to get Jim Roth his 500th win, they're going to have to run the table and win the state championship. So pretty cool. We mentioned all night how close the area is. 10 miles apart, how the tradition is. And I know you're excited, just like I am.
What an honor to be here tonight in this area. I mean, I wish more people showed up, but, it is what it is. It's a cold night. Phillies are playing, and they're waiting for Friday night. They're all getting excited.
I can say one thing about tonight. As I walked out here, I said I probably am the only announcer here that has done games for all 3 teams. because I was a Selinsgrove broadcaster back when they won some classic games at the Silver Bowl. I did Southern Columbia games for Jim Doyle and company back in the day, and I actually did one for Bigfoot Country when Jack Burns was out, the state championship game, and obviously Mount Carmel area now for 6 years. I've been doing Mount Carmel area games too.
Well, it's great to have the guys from Black Diamond on our show. We're always friends with them. I see you guys whenever we cover. Whenever I go to a District 4 game, I see one of your crews at that game. Usually, it's a pleasure having you be a surprise guest on the show.
Yeah.
Dave, thanks for being a host on the show
Appreciate
tonight. This is the State of PA Football. We're brought to you by St. Luke's, by Safer Sports, and by the Funding Zone. We appreciate you tuning in. We encourage you very seriously to go out on Friday night and see a high school football game. You cannot go wrong with high school football in the state of Pennsylvania. That is the state of PA football. We'll be back next week. We'll announce our location tomorrow. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Have a great evening.
At PAFootballNews.com, we've got you covered. If you're looking for the best coverage of high school football in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, check out PAFootballNews.com. From schedules to rankings, game coverage to Friday night scoreboard, live streams, and more, PA Football News is the one-stop shop for everything high school football in Pennsylvania. Follow us on Twitter at PA Football News and visit us at PAFootballNews.com. We got you covered.